Rangers fans, welcome to Liberty Blue, the best Rangers podcast in town. I'm Andrew Chelney alongside Nick Zararis. We scream about the Rangers so that you don't have to. This is episode 80, live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, and we are available wherever you get your podcasts as well. We're recording a couple hours early, as you can tell, because it's not pitch black outside. There's a little bit of sunlight, so just a little bit early. Our good old friend Nick Zararis here is going to the game, so we are just doing this a little bit earlier so we could have boots on the ground a little bit later on. Nick, well, they lost a stinker in Dallas, and then they followed it up with 3 critical wins. They are now sitting at the top of the NHL. This is the best team in the league. 15-3-1 record, 31 points. All I got to say is, wow.
There's nothing else to say in regards to just the big picture. This is dumbfounding. Even when the Rangers have been at their best post-2004 lockout, it's typically been a second-half surge that has jolted them up into that tier of elite team. Like, it took the Henrik Lundqvist injury where Cantal became the starter, where they rattled off something ludicrous like 12 out of 15 and knocked out them up in that upper echelon. Even in the year they won the President's Trophy, they didn't really get going until January. So this is kind of uncharted waters. I mean, I believe I saw this is the most points they've ever had through 19 games, standings points they've ever had through 19 games to this point. So they are doing things they have never done in their franchise's history. They are doing it with a greater than their sum of the parts effort right now, as we've reiterated over and over again. They're missing important pieces. We got good news on Fox. Hedl, the news, not as good, but still something in the right direction. But just big picture, drop down, 1,000-foot view, man. This is awesome. This is why you watch hockey, because every once in a while, your team, they figure it out. The light bulb goes off. And even when it's not pretty, even when it's ugly, they're finding ways. And yeah, the Dallas game, not great. You want to play well against a good team, and make no bones about it. Dallas is the type of team you would see in a Stanley Cup final if you were to get there. But the win against the Bruins, that kind of cemented to me, hey, they won big Saturday against the Devils the previous weekend. A little bit of an emotional letdown spot playing the Stars, not in the division. You're coming off a big win against a division rival. That's a classic letdown spot. I understand that. Kind of similar to when they dropped that game after coming back against Columbus to win on the Saturday against the Wild. It happens. They're human. But the thing that's been encouraging to me to this point, and this will be the driving force, is they have not gotten too high. They have not gotten too low. They have been able to roll with the punches very well, no matter what's been thrown at them. And they haven't looked out of their depth at any point this season yet.
I'm just I'm amazed, man. Like, this is wild to see, especially because of all the things that we highlighted going into the season of, Blake Wheeler is really slow, and the team is the same, and the skating could still be an issue. And what can Peter Laviolette do with this team that we haven't seen him do with other teams before? And all these things that we listed off, and here we are. No Fox still. He's probably going to come back on Wednesday against Detroit, but he's not playing tonight. No Hedl. He's out for, we don't know. We have no idea. He's skating, but he's not even practicing with the team yet. So he's still a ways away. There's still, there's some question marks here. Depth-wise, the depth really got it going against Boston. Jimmy Vesey's been looking a lot better the past week than he has all season. I don't know what kind of different, I don't know what he's changed in his approach, but the last few games, Jimmy Vesey's looked really good as a fourth-line player. This is a team that just refuses to win. Jonathan Quick looks like he's going to win the Vezina. Like, I don't know what's happening. But this is incredible. And like the summary up until this point, that scene from The Office when Andy goes, how do you know that you're in the good times when you're still in them? This is it. This is the good times for the Rangers. Like, this is great. We can't complain about anything. They're the best team in the league right now. We're having a lot of fun.
So in regards to that, knowing the good times, and the reason why in years past, this would have worried me. If they got out to this kind of start under Gerard Gallant, it would have genuinely worried me, because they would have banked enough points by like the first week of January to phone it in for 2 months, still make the playoffs, and go into the playoffs with no momentum whatsoever. The encouraging thing, and you talked about this in regards to the Bruins last week, that idea of you need to face some adversity in your regular season to prepare you for the postseason. In theory, the Rangers are going to hit that rough patch at some point. They are not going to play 800 point percentage hockey the rest of the way. If they do with this team, it would be the greatest accomplishment in the history of professional sports. And I'm not exaggerating saying that. An 800 points percentage is unprecedented in professional hockey. And with a group like this, like if you told me like the pre-salary cap Red Wings team in like 2001 that had 11 Hall of Famers on it was like an 800 point percentage team, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But this group, Tyler Pitlick playing every single game was not in the plan at the start of the season, but they have found a way. Speaking of Tyler Pitlick, he got on the board on Saturday, speaking to the depth. And this
Nick
is
Bonino's got his first goal. We got the Bonino call from Sam Rosen. I mean,
Sam
that's a classic.
I know Sam has been waiting to get that out because I know Sam thought to himself, all right, if Nick Bonino scores and it's in a good situation, I'm dropping this. I want to do this. This is cool. I want to do this. And that's just kind of something, that's really organic and really awesome to see. Like somebody who appreciates the history of the game, that's the way Sam does, that he thought, 7-8 years later, I don't remember if that was the first or second Penguins Cup win, but to have that still in the back of your mind, that's a cool moment. That was a really fun game on Saturday.
And the broadcaster quote tweeted that clip, and he was super excited that Sam did that. And it was really cool. It's just, it's a really cool moment for everybody involved. I love that he did that.
Yeah. Real quick on this topic, this overarching theme of what the hell's going on, because every single Ranger fan I talk to, even the people who are generally like, whatever, we'll see what happens when the playoffs comes, are kind of like, where'd this come from? What's going on? Did you have a hockey coach the last 2 years, or was it weekend at Bernie's? Why is the team this much better, even though it's largely the same personnel? And the replacements for guys from last year's team are, marginal replacement players that didn't cost anything. And it's easy to attribute it just to the coach or just to these guys are playing well. I think they had a perfect storm of things that worked against them last year that allowed them to get away with such bad habits that we talked about it going into last season, where they had the mindset of, we just got to get to the playoffs. Once we get to the playoffs, we'll be fine. And they did that for 82 games. And then once they got to the playoffs, they couldn't put together a consistent, coherent effort for 60 minutes, and they lost in the first round. They came in a little bit pissed off, frankly. It seems that there's a real distinct motivator that's driving this team right now, because they've had a few bad periods. That game against Dallas, the game against Detroit, where they gave up the 3 goals in the third after they got out to the big lead, the Minnesota game, the one game against Columbus. They've had bad periods. But for the most part, the effort's been unquestioned. The system has been falled back on when it has been needed to be utilized. The star players are playing within said system. And that's one of the things I want to highlight when we talk about under the hood stuff that jumped out to me, is just they don't turn the puck over nearly as much as they did last year. So there are a lot of factors working in their favor right now. And they're going to get to add one of the 2 best defensemen in the entire world back to this team on Wednesday. So there will be adversity. It will come. It might be injuries. It might be bad puck luck. But for right now, enjoy the ride while it's happening and feel pretty confident that this group is going to be able to handle that adversity.
I think one of the unsung heroes of the offseason, literally directly, is Peter Laviolette, because he brought in Eric Gustafsson. I don't think the Rangers signed Eric Gustafsson without Peter Laviolette directly being like, hey, I literally just had this guy. I want him here, and this is how he's going to help. I'm sure those conversations were had with Chris Drury when he was brought aboard, and that's why they signed him. And that it has made such a massive difference to the blue line. It's not just 4 defensemen and then the bottom 6 are just kind of hanging on. Eric Gustafsson brings a whole new dynamic to the bottom 6 for the Rangers. And now with Adam Fox out, he's quarterbacking the power play. He's doing a lot of things in the top 4 that maybe a Zac Jones or Braden Schneider would have had more difficulty doing, for example. And then if you bring those guys up, okay, well, we haven't really seen a whole lot of Connor Mackey. I don't know how he plays at the NHL level. How is he going to fare in a bottom 6 role? I have no idea. But because Eric Gustafsson has played such a massive role on this team to this point, and he's looked incredible for the most part, whether with the puck, without the puck, a 200-foot game, he has brought another dimension to this team that the Rangers have not had in ever, maybe? Because it's Adam Fox at the top, sure, no one's arguing that. But then lower down at the totem pole, who did the Rangers have before that can do a lot of the things that Gustafsson is doing? The answer is nobody. But now they do. Now they have Gustafsson. And now even Zac Jones is getting more confident with the puck. Now he's going to be, the third dynamic to that. And also, I brought this up before we started recording, but Adam Fox is going to come back Wednesday. Zac Jones probably is going to be the odd man out. What do you think the Rangers trade him at the deadline, or do they essentially go to Zach and be like, hey, Erik Gustafsson is going to ask for the moon next year when his contract is up because he's making 3 magic beans this season. Hang on, and you'll be our Erik Gustafsson next season. What do you think they do with him? And this is a great problem to have when your 7th defenseman is as good as Zac Jones has been the last few games, but they have a decision to make.
So let's attack that from a few different angles. Number one, and I was looking at this before we started recording because you brought this up as something to talk about. The difference between the two, Jones is giving you offense from the back end. They are driving play when they are on the ice. The issue with Jones that you're not having with Gustafsson is the defense hasn't been there this year. It's not that it can't be there. It's that it just hasn't been so far. Him and Schneider have not been great in their own end. They concede a lot defensively. So at face value, I think that's part of why they brought Gustafsson in, even though part of it was just the Laviolette factor of we can get him for cheap. He'll be able to do what I want to do and he'll be effective. It's also, they wanted Zac Jones to win this job last year. They gave him 15 games at the NHL level and said, you know what, we'll take the replacement level guy off of waivers and Ben Harper. They got away with it for long stretches of the season, whatever. But they prioritized that spot, that 6D, that 6th defenseman. They prioritized that guy being defensively responsible, which is part of why I'm not sure what their actual view of Jones is, because the defense just isn't there. I can be honest in my assessment of that. It's not there. It's not part of his game. He's effective in the offensive zone, and Schneider is not an eraser as a defensive partner. He just doesn't have that in his skill set. So I could see a world where they try and turn Jones into something at the deadline and deal with the consequences later. I understand that mindset of this is probably the best shot they're going to have, and we'll talk about this more as the deadline gets closer and potential moves. But I think there's a real shot they throw Jones into whatever package they do at the deadline, and then it's either they really try the moon and the stars to convince Gustafsson, hey, we believed in you when no one else would. Come here, stay here, sign like a 4-year deal for $3 million per, and then they have to deal with the consequences of that, and they have to move money around. But I think that's more likely just because I don't think they trust Zac Jones. If they did, they wouldn't have brought Gustafsson in to begin with.
Yeah,
and they're not. Oh, and one more thing.
Okay,
and they had, and they didn't give, and they haven't been inclined to really give him the shot. Really, he's playing and he's playing fine right now. But like you said, there's no hesitation. He's coming out on Wednesday when Fox goes in.
Yeah, and as I look at his contract right now, like it's the third potential option that I want to bring up is the idea that you keep him as a 7th forward, as a 7th defenseman, I should say, through the deadline, no matter what.
Yeah.
He's Jack. I looked up his contract. He's signed for $825,000 through next season. So he's signed. He's a signed commodity. He's not going to be overly expensive to keep, but he is going to be a good trade piece because, again, when you have 7 defensemen that can play at the NHL level, it's a great problem to have as if you're a head coach. But if you're a general manager, you're looking at this saying, okay, well, if teams really want this Zac Jones guy, where in as a sweetener for this really massive deal, it would be silly to say no. The third option here is through the deadline, you keep him as your 7th defenseman because injuries it's not an if, it's a when. During the playoffs, every team goes through it. Every team gets these injuries. Zac Jones as a 7th defenseman is probably is there a better 7th defenseman in the NHL right now than Zac Jones? Despite his defensive shortcomings, is there anybody that you can trust more in that spot currently than Zac Jones? I don't know every 7th defenseman in the NHL off the top of my head, but I would wager that he's up there in terms of one of the most reliable extra defensemen that you can have without holding your breath and just kind of hoping the Rangers don't give up a million goals when he's on the ice. He's one of the most reliable players in the league in terms of that responsibility. So it's a conundrum for Chris Drury. Unless you bring in a defenseman in return in that kind of deal, you might be inclined to just keep him as the 7D and just and ride it out.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I think that's probably the most likely of the three paths that you suggested, that they just hold on to him and they figure it out next summer. As I said in the first thing I said about trading him, they're going to deal with the consequences of whatever they decide to do at the deadline after the fact, because this is a pretty good group. And when you're this good and the rest of the NHL, there's only a handful of teams that are playing kind of at this level right now. And the Rangers still have a little bit of room to get to a more consistent level in how they're playing in terms of the process, because the results are there, but you would like the process to be a little bit smoother and being able to put some of these games away and not concede as much to create offense. So moving along, one of the things that I wanted to dig into to try and understand what's been different this year and what's working, they are getting really good underlying work. And when I talk about underlying work, I'm talking about on an individual level. I'm not talking about the lines, who's playing with who. Panarin right now has career high in shots, scoring chances, high danger chances, rebounds created. And he has less than half of the giveaways per game he did last year. All of that tells you when Panarin is on the ice, the Rangers are funneling the puck in the offensive zone and they are tilting the ice at an elite level. When you have one guy in your lineup that's capable of playing like that, and you got Lafreniere, who's really kind of putting it together, same thing, career highs in shots, scoring chances, high danger chances, career low in giveaways, and career high in expected goals. All of that tells you have one line in your lineup that's elite. What can we do to get the other one going there? And looking at Zibanejad and Kreider, I still am of the opinion they are just not getting the shooting luck. The individual expected goals, the high danger, the shots, all of the mechanics of good offense, they're there. All of the bones of good offense are there. It's not like they're not generating offense. It's not like they're not getting the puck to good areas. It just hasn't gone in for them. Looking at their rates compared to previous career highs, and then you go to shooting percentage, they're both about half what they were last year. You get that even 3/4 of what you were last year, and then we're not talking about the offense at 5-on-5 as being an issue.
Well, speaking of the 5-on-5 offense, Zibanejad didn't have one, didn't have a goal at even strength, and then we complained about it. And you know what happens? Zibanejad scored twice at 5-on-5. When bullying works, Nick, sometimes if you just bully people enough, you get what you want. And we bullied Zibanejad at 5-on-5. We made the jokes on Twitter, on the podcast. Eventually, he not only scored one, he scored two, and that might just be what he needed to essentially just break the dam.
Yeah, that's really how it goes for guys like that. For somebody like that is a consistent goal scorer, you are looking for that moment where the frustration ends because you get through, and that's when you start playing looser. When you're playing tight, when you're pressing, when you haven't scored, that's typically when it's going to feel like you're never going to score. As somebody who watches a lot of Calgary Flames hockey, because I do another podcast about the Flames, that is a team where everybody plays tight as hell because they know, nobody on our team can score. You're gripping your stick a little too tight. You're off on your one-timers just a hair. And that's the difference in this league between winning and losing. And that's the caveat to what we were talking about last week of Zibanejad's not scoring at 5-on-5. It's not that we didn't think he was ever going to. It was simply just a matter of, if they get that going, that's another feather in their cap. That's another wrinkle to the team that they have going for them. Because then suddenly you got two lines going at 5-on-5, and it's a little bit easier to withstand only having really two lines capable of scoring without Hedl right now. It was nice that they got a goal from Bonino over the weekend, but you're not expecting a lot offensively from him, Cooley, and Kakko. You're not. You're just not. And then the fourth line scoring, that's a bonus. If your fourth line is chipping in a goal once a week, once every 2 weeks, that's solid. That's really all you need from that group. Jimmy Vesey, Gaudreau, and Pitlick or Bonino, whoever's on that line given the week, their job's not to score. As long as they're not getting killed defensively, conceding goals, the recipe is there. You see the recipe for this team at 5-on-5. The power play has been outstanding, and the kill has been outstanding. You see the recipe to be a truly elite team.
Everything is going well for them right now, and we just have to.
That's scary.
It is scary. Yeah, well, it's November right now, so we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. And we mentioned it before that adversity will hit at some point. they will at a certain point. Like, I mean, unless you're the Bruins of last season in the regular season, like they're probably going to lose 2-3 games in a row at some point in the season. Like it's we can't just look at the season with rose-tinted glasses and just assume that they're going to win 70 games and then there's going to cakewalk into the cup and then that's it. That's the season. It's not even December yet. We have to put things into perspective of like, this is a great start. We're very excited. It's also still November. This is the best start the Rangers have ever had, and it's very exciting to be a part of. There's 60 games left of the season? There's a lot of hockey to be played. Hopefully they can continue on this pace and the way that they've played and they honestly also part of the system that Laviolette has put in place is they're not the fastest team, and this is one of the things that we talked about over the during the offseason as a potential worry that we might have. But because of the system, they haven't needed to be the fastest team in the NHL. Blake Wheeler is not a fast player by any means, but he, especially over the past few games, has looked a lot better in terms of what he's doing with the puck when he has it. Those passes have been really nice. They're finding ways to say, okay, we might not be the fastest team on the ice at all times, but the way that we play, it doesn't matter because we're going to find open people and we're going to dominate you because of that.
Yeah, no, the positioning has been there. These guys know where they need to be in a way they haven't in years past, and that's made up for their lack of speed. Typically speaking, that is how you remedy being a slower team. You think about how the Hurricanes played the Devils in the second round last year. You funnel the puck down low. You force the Devils defensemen to turn their backs to the play to recover the puck, turn around and go the length of the ice every single time. You ding them up in the neutral zone as they try and go around you. That's how you cope as a slower team. You have to fall back on your structure, and you can't have blown coverages. That's really the big issue when you're a slow team. There are individual things, and this is something I thought about that we could talk about. The one thing that surprised me about the game on Saturday, I didn't see Trouba swing his stick at Frederick until I think like Sunday morning on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that was just something like MSG was like, oh, we're not showing this because they don't want to make someone on the team look bad. Or if just like, that was a different angle that, wasn't on the main feed, whatever. I'm surprised he didn't get one game. Like, I just feel like visual optics wise, that's not a good look. Nobody's saying he did it on purpose. You'll never know if he did it on purpose. But just like, you're responsible for your stick. I think we're all in agreement there. I'm very surprised he didn't get a game, but just something when you're a player like Trouba, who every other team in the league dislikes and treats with a certain way, you got to be a little bit smarter. That's what I'll say. He doesn't owe anything to the other teams, but all you're doing is giving them ammunition to be like, hey, this guy's a dirtbag. Look what he does. The next time you do something where you're on the line, because that will go up into the consideration of, he hasn't been suspended for a hit yet, but we did fine him for this. So it's a stupid play. It is just a stupid play.
It looked bad. And Jacob Trouba
knows better. He said it himself.
Yeah, I think it was today, or I think it was at practice today, where he was just like, "Yeah, that it looked bad. I saw the replay. I shouldn't have, I can't believe I did this." Essentially, he said he apologized to Frederick as soon as it happened because he said he was surprised. Like Frederick was surprised. Like everybody was kind of in shock that it happened when it did. That shouldn't take away from the fact that he should have gotten a couple of games for that because it looks awful. Like, yeah, Frederick held on to, I think, his stick or his shoulder or something.
He was grabbing him, yeah.
But you can't do that still. I don't care that someone's grabbing your shoulder. That doesn't give you the freedom to just baseball swing your stick around. Like, they just can't do that. And he didn't do it on purpose. I'm sure he didn't. He in the quotes after, in practice today, he made it pretty clear that he not only did he not do it on purpose, he was surprised that he did it at all. So clearly he wasn't thinking about it in the moment. So he didn't do it on purpose. At least I don't think so. But that doesn't change the fact that he should have gotten a suspension for it. You are swinging your stick and it hit somebody in the head. That is a suspension. Why is it a fine? I don't know. Like, is it the fact that...
They spun the wheel.
I guess. Like, I understand that Frederick didn't get hurt as a result, but what if he did? Oh, because if it was the same exact play, but Frederick gets hurt, it's a suspension. But because
More
he
than
didn't get
likely.
hurt, it's not. That doesn't make any sense to me. The play is the same. You got to suspend based off the play and not the after effects. The play was not good by any stretch of the imagination, and Jacob Trouba definitely should have gotten suspended for it.
Yeah, no, it's just an unnecessary play. Like, I get it. You're pissed off. Frederick's an annoying player. Just like, use your noodle. I hate to say that because, like, this is hockey and nobody uses common sense in hockey, like, at all. But, like, come on, man. Do better. That's something that's stupid and just wholly unnecessary. Okay, last thing before we wrap up and get to the last topics of the day. I'm worried, Andrew. Good things do not happen to this hockey team.
It's finally their turn, Nick. It's finally their turn. Maybe.
Andrew, this is the franchise that had a defenseman fight the goalie.
Yeah.
Said defenseman get exiled to the south of New Jersey, never to be heard from again for 4 months. That had the coach and general manager fired after the owner of the team wrote a statement saying the Department of Player Safety had no authority and he had no confidence in George Peros. After initiating a fight with 3 guys on his own team that had never really been in fights before in the second to last game of the regular season, that meant nothing. But Glenn Saylor went down to the locker room and really tried to and say, hey, we don't let that happen here. Like, this is 1975. And then proceeded to trade for 3 guys on the premise that they were big, but none of them were actually good. Had the entirety of the Shesterkin Vezina season with all kinds of shenanigans going on in the background. This is a team that has more or less been one of like the soap opera teams of the league for the last couple of years.
No soap operas, just hockey, Nick. I don't know if you remember that, but
I do. I mean, we have the romance of the soap opera. We have Mika and Kreider out there making everybody else jealous every single game. Like Micheletti every now and then gets the zingers in there, and it kills me. Like what he said on Saturday when Mika blew a kiss at Kreider, and he's like, "Oh, that was for you, Sam, right?" And Sam goes, "Well, no, I think that was for Kreider." Yeah, that's how you know things are going well. Is you've got the broadcast cracking jokes about Kreider and Zibanejad blowing kisses at each other. Years past at this point in the season, we're like, oh, they're going to be a 45% possession team all year. They're going to go into the first round and pray they score 9 goals in 7 games and win every single game 1-0. Right now, it just feels like the biggest issue. What are you going to do with the deadline? And the beautiful thing is they've got time to figure that out. And it's not like they need anything. There's no like glaring hole. Yeah, they probably need one more top 9 forward. That's doable. You can go and get your 2023 equivalent of Lee Stempniak. Lee Stempniak got traded 14 times, 15 times, something ridiculous like that. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but you can get the type of guy they need, and it's not going to require shenanigans the way it has in the last couple of years. They are extremely well positioned to withstand any additional adversity that comes. And frankly, they are in a situation now where it is on them. It's not like, oh, we don't have the talent or it's, oh, this adversity. They can be this good. If you can be this good, it's on you to find a way to stay at this level because you got here somehow. Now the rest of the season is a matter of how do we keep this intensity where we feel like every game matters and we are playing in a way where we feel like we can win every single game we go out there with. It didn't matter they played Louis Domingue. They won with Louis Domingue. Let's go out there with that mindset every single night. It's on them to maintain that the rest of the way.
And that too, it's one thing if you were to kind of beat up on bad teams and win against good teams, but it doesn't feel convincing. Right now, it doesn't matter who they're playing because they're playing a convincing style of hockey. The Boston Bruins now again they looked uncharacteristic this past weekend. They gave up a whole lot of goals against Detroit. They came to the Rangers and they gave up 7 against the Rangers. Hasn't really been their style of hockey, but the Rangers have to break down the Bruins for them to not play their style of hockey, and that's what they did. The Bruins are one of the best teams in the league. I famously also, before the season, said they weren't going to make the playoffs, but Buffalo was, and oh boy, did I buy the snake oil on the Buffalo Sabres. They look awful, but for even if a team is coming in and struggling, or not playing their brand of hockey like the Bruins were against Detroit coming into that Saturday game, it's still up to the Rangers to deliver that final blow. The Bruins aren't going to punch themselves in the face. The Rangers have to do it to them and then win the game. And that's what they did. Also, Jonathan Quick for president, I will be writing in his name when I get the vote ballot. Listen. He's earned it. He gets the key to the city. He gets my vote for president. I mean, I don't know what Benoit Allaire is doing. I'm scared to ask. I am scared at this point to figure out how the sausage is made with Benoit Allaire and his style of goalie coaching. But I can't believe what I'm seeing. I mean, Shesterkin's playing really well. Domingue played well in that one game, like we talked about earlier. Quick is playing the best hockey he's played since 2014. Like, this is insanity, and I can't believe it.
He is fourth in the entire league in goals saved above expected, and he has 8 starts. Everybody else ahead of him has at least 14 games. So yeah, Jonathan Quick is playing as well as he looks. Okay, today's Guess Who player, Andrew. They've played for 4 teams in their NHL career. They started in Colorado.
Okay.
They went to Calgary. They went to Buffalo, and then they came to the Rangers.
He's currently on the Rangers right now?
No.
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 Are they still in the league?
No.
Oh.
Their last season was 2011.
2011 is tough.
2010, 2011 was their last season in
Calgary,
the NHL.
Colorado, Buffalo.
Yes.
Oh boy. Is he forward?
Yes.
Chris Drury.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Okay. Because I remember, like, he played in Buffalo for a long time, obviously, but the Colorado part is like, okay, he had like a cup of coffee, I think, in Colorado.
Nah, he was in Colorado for 4 seasons.
4 seasons.
He played 50 games in Calgary and then went to Buffalo. Yeah.
2011. Nice. I'm okay. I had to go through the Rolodex to figure it out, but yeah, that is our general manager.
All right. Last thing on today's agenda. Give me your 5 favorite alternate jerseys in the NHL.
So you did ask me before the episode, and I have these written down. So I think the Penguins reverse retro from last season is number 5 for me. I have one because Adidas was selling them for $50, the blank ones. And I was like, oh, give me one of those because they fit with like half my wardrobe, and I like the fit. It looks great. So I'll take that one. I'll probably put the Capitals Black Screaming Eagle as number 4. I love that jersey. It looks phenomenal. I really enjoy it, and I some of these I really hope that they were just going to be their primaries forever and ever. I know Adidas is moving away, and it's gonna be Fanatics, unfortunately, starting next season, so we won't be seeing these jerseys much at all because of copyright and all these things. So, but I do wish that would be their permanent jersey. Probably put Blasty as number 3. The Calgary Flames alternate. I love that the black and orange Blasty looks amazing. That also just should be their primary. All these should be their primaries, really. The Mighty Ducks one, number 2. I mean, that's just it's so iconic. I really love.
But which Mighty Ducks one? Because there's a few different ones you could be talking about.
I'm talking about the purple Mighty Ducks one with like the OG logo on it. Okay. I love that jersey to death. I think it's one of the cleanest ever in pro sports. I love that jersey. And number 1 is the purple Kachinas with the desert on the bottom, and it looks so good. It looks so clean. Adidas, please give me another sale so I can cop one of these jerseys. I am on my knees at this Walmart, Adidas. Please, I would love one. Your 5, sir.
Okay, so I wanted to pick a few that you didn't have. So I have the Canucks Flying Skate, the black, the Pavel Bure ones from the 90s. Really strong, really nice colors. Next up, I have the Capitals, the white with the red shoulders where it says Capitals across the chest. I call those the government names because it says Washington Capitals across the chest. I feel like that's a really strong one. I have Blasty on there as well. That's one of my favorite jerseys in the entire league. I know a lot of jersey snobs and a lot of designers will be like, well, black's not in your primary colorway. You shouldn't have a black alternate jersey. Those people are wrong. Black alternate jerseys are great. I have the Rangers Lady Liberty jersey. It's so nostalgic to a specific period in time. The team was not very good, but they had very nice jerseys, and that is what matters to me. Everybody remembers the Marek Malik goal because it is the Screaming Eagle. I think it might be the Capitol building.
I think it was the Screaming Eagle.
I'm pretty sure it's the Screaming Eagle versus Lady Liberty, and that's just absolute perfection. And then last, I have the white Kachinas. The ones that they did 2 years ago. I want to say, the purple are nice, and they do have purple in their logo, so it works. But for me, the white's just a touch cleaner, and I like it a little bit more. But yeah, jerseys are great. We could do an entire episode about this. That's not a bad idea for the middle of summer where we talk about each team's best jersey.
An honorary mention, honestly, goes to the Senators.
Which one?
I think it's their current ones now, but they had like these the black ones right now with the old school logo on it. I think those are just fire. I think their old school throwback logo that they're using now looks so much better than the other one that they were using prior to this one. This black one, it looks so clean. I know it's not like an alternate or whatever. That's just a really clean jersey.
Okay, you just reminded me of something that we can have as a conversation to end up the episode. How do you feel about the Hurricanes using the Whalers imagery in jerseys every now and then?
Well, the Jets gonna be wearing Thrashers jerseys because that's the same thing. Like I don't know. I understand the gimmick behind it. I understand it sells a lot. So from a monetary perspective, it makes sense. It's a gimmick, and people love these kinds of nights and all those things. But you gotta for the history of the sport, I'm not such a big fan of it, especially if you were a Whalers fan back in the day. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of it because they're kind of the only team that does that. The Jets don't do that. Other team, the Avalanche aren't using like the old New Jersey logo for their jerseys. I'm not the biggest fan of it. And yeah, the jerseys are clean. And if you love the Whalers so much, then just put the team back. Because the around the NHL, like they go crazy for the jersey, they go crazy for the team. Okay, well then just put the team back. At that point, I don't know. I'm not a big, like, I get it from a business perspective. I understand why they do this, but if you are a fan of the history, I'm not huge on it.
The Arizona Coyotes should have a Winnipeg Jets night. That's my thought on the topic.
Against the Jets.
That's a good idea. I might have to send an email, and I could probably actually
have the Coyotes wear throwback Jets jerseys and have the Jets wear Thrashers jerseys. That's all I want to see, and my PayPal is open for business.
That's a really good idea. I really might have to send that as an email. That's a good idea. All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Liberty Blue Podcast. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, over on YouTube as well. We are live every single Monday at 6 p.m. If you're going to the game, see you there. If not, we'll talk next week. Later.